We've talked about the challenges of getting through the holidays, but now I want to talk about finding joy in the holidays. Lance loved the holidays. So we were very intentional all the years that he was alive in what we did to get through them, to make them enjoyable. And I am being intentional about them as I move forward since losing him.
I'm so glad that we covered the challenges first, so then we can talk about all the really good parts and the joys of the holidays. Because I am a huge holiday lover. I love celebrating, I love tradition, I love just being around my family. So, this was a really easy topic for me to talk about. But I'm really excited to hear about your experience and how you guys were able to find joy in what was a pretty tough situation. So I'm so excited to hear what you have to say today. Can I start with just asking what was your favorite memory as a caregiver, favorite holiday memory?
Well, in the last episode, I mentioned the Christmas that he was on hospice, and I just asked him about all the gifts before I bought them for him, and he was so excited every time he opened them. I think that was one of my favorite memories. He was just so happy, and sometimes I would tell him, "You picked that out," and then other times I didn't. And this isn't a memory of a specific year. This is kind of what I did every year after the dementia set in. He loved the holidays. He loved Christmas, especially. That was his favorite holiday. And he loved getting gifts and he loved giving gifts. So, as the years went on, he wasn't able to get out and purchase gifts for me. So, there were people who helped him purchase gifts, and that was always fun for him. But the fun part, I think, for both of us was just making sure that he had a lot of gifts. And I have a really hard time when I have a gift for somebody, I want to give it to them now. So Christmas usually lasted for about a month for him because I just wanted to keep giving him gifts. And then I'd get to the end of all the gifts that I had and I'd have to go buy more because I ran out. So that's a favorite memory for me. And I did that almost every year for at least a decade.
I love that. That's fantastic.
But
And he probably wasn't trying to snoop through all the hiding places. Was he a snooper?
no, but in the beginning, he always guessed what I got for him. And I know he wasn't snooping through. I just wasn't very good at hiding it from him, I guess. But no, when the dementia set in, by then he wasn't getting around very well, so he wasn't able to snoop through the gifts. And he didn't need to because he probably, even though his memory loss was pretty bad, he probably still had some memory of the fact that I was going to give him his presents early anyway.
He had some expectation.
Yeah, but the other favorite memory that I have is how much he loved the lights. I've always loved the Christmas lights, but he loved them. And when the dementia got bad, he just really seemed to enjoy them so much. And so every year I made sure that we got out and saw the lights multiple times. And if it was warm enough, or even sometimes when it wasn't warm enough, but it wasn't snowy or icy, I would get him out in his wheelchair and I would get him all bundled up and put a blanket in his lap, get him a hot cocoa and push him around. And he really enjoyed that. And I've got so many pictures from those times, and that's another favorite memory.
I guess then, as you were going through these changes, as his health was changing or your situation was maybe becoming more complex, um, were there traditions that kind of were started or came about or evolved because of the modifications you guys had to make, because of the changes to his health, that you had to try new things or you had to modify existing things? So, did you guys find new ways to celebrate and new traditions um, as a result of the changes occurring in your life?
Well, because of all of the medical equipment that he had, there wasn't room to decorate like there had been before. And so I stopped putting up a tree. I didn't have a tree in the house for probably 11 or 12 years because he needed the walker or the walking stick for a while. And that was how the tradition of going to see the Christmas lights started. And because we didn't have anything in our house, we had very little in our house. I still decorated a little bit, but because he was missing that, that was when I started taking him out to see the lights. And we would do it multiple times throughout the season.
And there's some really good places to go look at lights. So I think that's, I know in this area there were for sure like some really cool places that you could go, and cool neighborhoods that really got into the spirit. So you could go multiple times to see different neighborhoods, and it's not always the same. So that's fun that you guys were able to do that, and just make it something that was not just that it worked for you guys, but that it was something that you both truly enjoyed. I think that's
And we would take people with us too. So when we first started doing it, I would take him to the botanical gardens and they had a really good display. It was so much fun. He enjoyed it. The problem with that was that it wasn't fully accessible. And so we missed out on a lot of the lights. And so I started looking for a more accessible place as time went on. But one of the things that we loved about going there was they had a big tent set up and you could go in and you could get hot cocoa or hot cider. And that was something that he always enjoyed. It was such a treat.
after Lance died, that's I'm sure that changed how you approach the holidays. And we've talked about those losses and how it's different. Obviously, you're missing the one person that you want to share that with most of all. Do you remember the first holiday that you were actually able to celebrate or enjoy after he passed away?
I still don't celebrate the holidays, but it was 3 years after he passed away. So it was my fourth Christmas without him. I went out and spent Christmas with my best friend in Colorado. And we took the day and went up to Estes Park, took a beautiful drive, snow in the trees. It was a perfect way to celebrate the day without actually celebrating the day. And we did go out and see the lights. That was the first time that I'd been out to see the lights since he passed away. And I really enjoyed that. So even though I'm not celebrating, I think that I am going to try and get out and see the lights again this year because I'm starting to like it again.
Yay. I'm glad to hear that. I have appreciated watching you be so intentional about your grief as well as your healing. And so seeing you continue to move forward at your own pace has been so inspiring to me. And it's just taught me a lot about how to get through life in a way that is honest and true to your own feelings and your own emotions, and in a way that allows you to embrace those but also to continue to grow through it. It's it's been an honor to watch you navigate this. So one of the last things that I kind of wanted to touch on, and you can tell me what you think about this, because I think we both came from large families, and I think one of the things that, or I don't know, that was my experience growing up, um, for different holidays were traditions, things that we would do that happened when I was very little, and then they happened throughout my childhood and then into adulthood, and they became familiar and important and fun and something you look forward to. But what I found was that there were a lot of traditions that we did just because we did them. And as time went on, I found that if I was honest, I maybe wasn't as thrilled about the actual tradition itself, but it was easy. And it was kind of scary to think about losing that or doing something new. And while there are many traditions that we still have that I've had my whole life, I've learned to kind of pick and choose the ones that I really love versus the ones that I was just doing because I did them. And so I think traditions can come with an expiration date. And if we're not careful, um, we can get into a rut and maybe lose some opportunity to not just try new things, but to really be, as you like to say, intentional. um, there's just a lot of opportunity there. So I guess what I was thinking is, did taking care of Lance and going through his illness and the loss help you to be able to prioritize those traditions or create new traditions, or to be really honest about what you were doing and why you were doing it? Did it help cultivate more intention in the way that you approach the holidays?
Well, I think ours actually started pretty close to the beginning of our marriage because our story was so unique. We got married after only knowing each other for 2.5 months. So, our first Christmas, we went up to visit his family, and I met his family for the first time. And then our second Christmas together, he had just come home from a 6-month deployment, and he was home either 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And we just wanted it to be just the two of us because we'd only been married 7 months when he was sent on that deployment. So that was our second one. And then our third Christmas was after his diagnosis. And so every year after that, we just kind of did whatever worked for us, however he was feeling, whatever was going on in our life at that time. We decided then how we were going to approach the holidays. And there was a time, there was one year when we were in our mid to late 20s. Christmas that year, we both shopped at Toys R Us. We bought each other toys, lots of video games and lots of other toys, just because that year had been so hard. There'd been so much going on. We just wanted to feel like kids.
I love that.
So that kind of set the tone for how we lived out the rest of his life. Just every year was about whatever we were dealing with, and we just worked around it.
That's, I mean, what a unique opportunity to really prioritize and live in the moment. And I guess maybe that's not obvious when you're going through it, or maybe it was. Did you guys know that's what you were doing?
Um, we never really talked about it specifically, that this is why we're doing this, or that this is what we're doing. We just kind of came up with a plan. I think it's more, as I look back on it, I see how intentional we really were. And I'm really glad that we did things the way that we did it, because then as his disease progressed, it was just easier to keep doing that and to just kind of adapt because we'd always been adapting.
So then your tradition was adapting and being intentional and being honest. So you had your tradition. It just didn't look like everyone else's.
Just like everything else in our life. But it worked for us. And like I've said many times about so many other things, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so glad that we did things the way that we did them. And I look back and I've got so many great memories. It was hard. I'm not going to deny that. But there are so many great memories and moments of joy that you wouldn't expect in so many decades of continued losses.
Well, I think you did a really good job of making the holidays special for him. I know just the years that I knew you and coming over and seeing him during the holidays, he was just thrilled. He was so happy. He loved the decorations. He loved going out and seeing the lights. And I think all that effort that you put in. I think it really meant something to him. So well done.
Thank you. And like I said in the last episode, just having a plan in place for wherever you're at in your life, that was the way that we got through it. We just made a plan and we knew that it may need to be adapted, but that was how we got through the holidays and that was how we enjoyed the holidays. Well, thanks for having this conversation with me, Jenna, and I will see you next time.
All righty. Bye.